Hello, this is Bill Eargle. I produced and narrated this media. It's defense of my dissertation topic. We're ready to begin, so let the cameras roll. I think most people would say, myself included, that college life, in many respects, was synonymous with the life of the fictional character in the life of Riley, who had a carefree and content existence. As a reminder, look at this generic video clip of college students leisurely walking across campus on their way to and from classes. I would guess most are not too concerned about the complexities of such topics as college finances, except, of course, when it comes to paying tuition or having enough money to snag tickets to the next Taylor Swift concert. My proposed dissertation examines college finances at a deeper level. My topic, the inability of colleges and universities to align budgets with organizational goals, evaluates a college's standing in achieving this alignment. The college, shown here, is one I graduated from 50 years ago and will be identified with the pseudonym the College of Goodness. Initial research into my dissertation topic at Goodness and colleges and universities nationwide produced startling findings. If made public, these findings could potentially turn smiles into looks of concern and confusion on the faces of current-day college students like those now being shown. The misinformed would assume annual funds provided in a college's budget are targeted to meet the short and long-term goals of the educational institution. What I discovered, however, is many colleges and universities, including some with sizable annual budgets, do not align budgeted funds with organizational goals. They shoot blindly in hopes of hitting the target when in fact the target or goal has not been defined. When budgets are established without having a tie to meaningful goals, it is like playing roulette. Once the roulette wheel starts spinning, no one can predict with any certainty into what slot the ball will fall. Visualize putting all your funds next to you at a conference table and trying to determine the best method of distribution to those seated around without having those funds tied to organizational goals. You might as well go to the top of the nearest building and throw the money onto the pavement below and then look to see where it has landed, or metaphorically where the ball has dropped. Your limited chances of winning are about the same. The root cause behind this failure appears to be outdated budgetary systems used essentially for counting, like the ancient abacus tool, and for cost control. These systems are set up for the sole purpose of ensuring funds are spent in compliance with spending rules, not to measure progress in meeting short and long-term goals. There appears to be more concern over not exceeding phone or rent budgets, for example, than knowing whether budgeted funds are being directed towards meeting student learning goals. The benefits of aligning the budget with organizational goals are abundant, especially for a small private college like Goodness. The lack of public funding, combined with narrow support from the base of constituents and alumnus, increases the need for colleges to use the entirety of tuition and fees to cover the operating costs of the institution. When available funding resources are used essentially for the support of fixed operating costs, student outcomes are stagnated. To make funds available for discretionary spending on student outcomes, while at the same time keeping tuition costs down in order to remain competitive, Goodness must be diligent. My dissertation effort will use the KMO gap analysis framework to evaluate Goodness's standing
in aligning its budget with short and long-term goals of the organization. KMO influences will be identified through open-ended qualitative interviews with leadership and CFO and planning staffs. Many questions must be addressed. Under knowledge influences, does College of Goodness budgetary staff have the necessary knowledge, skills, and abilities to properly address the need to align the budget with organizational goals? Does staff have the skills to develop precise, meaningful goals in a smart format? Do they know how to tie budgetary resources to these goals? Further, can the current budgetary software, Zenzabar, that is used by Goodness be programmed to align the budget to goals of the organization? Does CFO staff have the skill needed to analyze and make software revisions to provide for the alignment? Motivational influences also affect Goodness's effort to attain the goal of aligning its budget with organizational goals. Motivation is a key element to success. According to Denzel Washington,
so you got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. Because remember this, you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You can't take it with you. The Egyptians tried it, and all they got was robbed.
one key theory of motivation is called expectancy value. Do college budgeting and planning staff have an expectation of value from the work effort? Do they perceive budgeting based on strategic goals is valuable and worthwhile? Moreover, do they believe it is likely they will be successful at accomplishing the goal? Another main theory of motivation is Albert Bandura's theory of self-efficacy. It is defined as a person's belief in his or her ability to succeed in a particular situation. Do college leadership and staff at Goodness possess the needed self-efficacy to perform the work of aligning the budget with organizational goals? Do leaders believe they can be successful? Organizational influences have also been recognized affecting the ability of Goodness to align budgets with organizational goals. Research shows higher education has not been historically open to innovation and change. Renowned economist and educator Dr. Larry Summers, President Emeritus of Harvard and former Secretary of the Treasury, spoke on the slowness of change in higher education.
Who's innovating in higher education right now, and what are they learning from this innovation?
Not enough people are innovating enough in higher education. To say is that for something that's all about ideas and for something that's all about young people, the pace of innovation in higher education is stunningly slow.
It will be essential for Goodness to adopt an organizational culture that is receptive to change if the budget is to be aligned with organizational goals and a strategic plan developed. The annual budget must be tied to goals in a strategic plan because the annual budget is merely the short-term action plan which will carry the organization toward reaching its long-term goals. Lastly, the shareholder goals for Goodness are, by June 2020, allot 20% of the budget to organizational goals. By June 2022, align 100% of the budget to organizational goals. If the KMO influences are successfully addressed by Goodness, it is anticipated that these goals will be met.